Welcome everyone. So we're going to start with this song to Ganesha. And Uma Shankar asked the question, why do we always start with Ganesha? So what is the answer? This is a very popular answer, yes.
Which one?
Because Ganesha removes, he's known as the remover of obstacles. But this is a curious thing that Ganesha is known as the remover of obstacles so popularly. Because the remover of obstacles is, relatively speaking, a minor name of Ganesha. Before he is known as the remover of obstacles, he's known as Vigneshwara. Say it, Vigneshwara. Vigneshwara. Which means the Lord of obstacles and the placer of obstacles. So one of my friends, she says, obstacles are not in the way. Obstacles are just on the way. Without obstacles, we are much less likely to find out what we are really made of. People like to pray to Ganesha because they want to have an easy life. Like they like to pray to Lakshmi because they want to have money coming to them. But this is a very superficial, actually, let's say, minor meaning of the deity. What Ganesha means literally is the Isha, say Isha. Isha. Isha means the kind of the Lord, the energy which can bring together, which can lead, of the Ganas. So say Gana. Gana. And Gana means what? Gana means a member of a gang, a member of a group. And it also means the whole collective. So Ganesha is the energy that unifies all the parts. So yoga is very practical. Yoga, the unification of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. Have you heard this definition? How does it sound? Awesome. Awesome, yeah. It's really genuinely awesome to unify the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. Wow. Does anybody have a different reaction to awesome? To yoga means joining your individual self with the ultimate reality.
Sounds difficult.
Sounds a bit out there, yeah? Maybe it's too much for me, yeah? So people can respond to this in different ways. But for me, when I contemplate this definition of yoga, I have a problem. I don't know if you share my problem, but my problem is, well, when I honestly take a look at myself, I don't really know myself completely. Have you ever done something and you think, why did I do that? Yeah? Have you ever done something that I know I didn't want to do that, but somehow I still did it anyway? Yes? This is everybody? Yeah? So I don't quite know myself. And as for the ultimate reality or the Supreme Soul or God, well, I don't know that either. So how am I going to join two things I don't know? Okay, the whole yoga project, out the window. No, yoga is very practical, so we just start where we are. And so this brings us to the second song we're going to sing, which is Jagadishwari. So if you look at this sheet that's got, it's the one long song with the Sanskrit writing. This is a song to Mother Divine, but it uses the idea of all these different constituent aspects of material reality being ganas, group members of the whole, group member parts of our individual reality, also known as tattvas or ganas. So the idea is that the Ganesha energy, the yoga energy, is the energy that unifies and brings together all of these parts that we're going to sing to in the second song. So why do we start with Ganesha? We'll talk more about that afterwards. But why do we start with Ganesha? Because classically, yoga is efficiency. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes yoga as samatvam, meaning evenness or balance or integration. And karmasu kaushalam, which means skillfulness in the things that we do. Is that a good definition? Yeah?
James, neither Krishna in the Gita or Patanjali in the Sutras ever uses that definition, though, of the yoging of the universal, the supreme to the individual. It's yoga chitta vritti namaha.
Yeah.
But they never say that it is that yoging. Is there a scriptural reference to that?
So there are descriptions that when one, so Patanjali, his definition of yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Now, okay, let's see how far we get today. No, this is great. So what does this mean? Anybody, what does it mean?
The study of the fluctuations of the chitta.
So when we go to a printed publication of a translation of the Yoga Sutras, we can encounter translations like, yoga is the stilling of the mental movements or vacillations or fluctuations. Okay? Well and good. Do you know what I think of that translation? Yeah, not much. It's a start. But to me, it doesn't represent the true reach or spirit of Patanjali's Sanskrit. And chitta is not just the mind. Chitta is the whole realm. Chit is that which is experienced with consciousness. So the way I understand chitta is this whole field of our experience, including our emotions, including our physicality, including all these different parts of ourselves. Nirodha means having checked. So the way I understand Patanjali's definition is, once I have checked, in other words, once I have acknowledged and become thoroughly attuned to, when I am finally and subtly aware of all the movements of all these different parts of myself, this is when yoga emerges. So and Patanjali is very inclusive. This is one of the things I find so jaw-droppingly beautiful about Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. He's so inclusive. So at one level, yoga is the stopping of all thought. This is one state of samadhi or integration. But Patanjali's definition is good whether we are in activity or whether we're in meditation. It works across the spectrum. So the way I understand Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha really is, yoga is integration. Yoga is the clarity of awareness that comes when I bring myself into an integrated state.
Is it absorption, complete absorption?
So I would say complete absorption is a particular state of samadhi. So in the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali elaborates many, many layers of samadhi. He talks about samadhi with a seed or with a support, and samadhi without a seed. So the seed or the support, we're going to sing in a moment. The song is our support for yoga. We orient the powers of our awareness towards our activity, in this case the song. And as our mind, as our bodily and sensory powers all come together, they get yoked, if you like, to a common point of focus, then a state of deepening integration or yoga or absorption is invited. But as long as we're singing, we're connected to the seed or the support of the song. Let's say we sing, and then we become silent, and we continue repeating the mantra internally. We're still connected to the seed or the support. But then the mantra drops away, and we're just experiencing awareness. This is absorption without a seed. Maybe it came about after working with a seed, but it comes and it goes. But yoga is not just an absolute point. Yoga is for life. It's the practical school of Indian philosophy. So it's not just an end point or an end goal. And Patanjali's definition, as far as I understand it, works wherever we are. So Patanjali then says at the end of his sutras, when you come into that Chitta Vritti Nirodha state, as your awareness becomes clearer, you can inhabit a state that he calls, does anybody know the name of the final chapter of the Yoga Sutra? It's called the Kaivalya Pada. So he says Kaivalya, say Kaivalya. Kaivalya. And Kaivalya means all oneness. So it could get translated as aloneness. But if you hear, okay, you get into a deep state of yoga and you're going to be all alone. Does that sound like something you really want to dedicate your life to be all alone? But to be all one, that has a very different feel, yeah? So Kaivalya is all one, it's aloneness, but in a sense of all oneness. In other words, it's when all these parts of ourselves, the physical constituents of our bodily reality, our thoughts, our emotions, our sense powers, our bodily powers, when they all come together and function as a cohesive whole, then we can live in a state of oneness. We can live in the state of yoga. Some schools of yoga, particularly tantric schools, then build upon this and go into subtler realms of awareness, in which they do describe that the individual awareness becomes more attuned to subtler or vaster realms. But in the Gita, Krishna's definition is evenness, skillfulness, and separation from sorrow. Separation from isolation. It's this interesting construct. So when you become disconnected from disconnection. When you become disconnected, no longer yoked to ideas of limitation. So from some interpretation you could say that means you are connected to everything. Yeah. But in others, like in plenty of tantric texts, they talk about these subtle layers that are associated with the divine. But the beautiful thing about Patanjali, and also I would say Krishna in the Gita, is it's very, very practical. It doesn't talk about anything that you have to believe. Everything is there for you to explore in the lens of your own experience. Does that answer the question to some degree of satisfaction? So we were just saying that, what we were just saying, we were talking about bringing all these parts into togetherness, yeah? So if I want to become connected, I want to become unified, well, okay, I want unity, well, where to start? Where to start? The earth. Yeah? Start where we are. Start with the element of earth. Everything grows from its roots. So yoga, so you can only grow as tall and expansive as our roots are deep and extensive. So yoga always reminds us. Some people get kind of carried away with these ideas, oh, I'm going to ascend and rise and become elevated and ethereal. So no, you have to integrate everything back into the root system. So in this song, which includes the tattvas, we start with earth, water, fire, air, space. Then the realms of the senses associated with these elements: fragrance, taste, sight, touch, sound. This includes our emotions. Yeah? For example, if you feel a lot of fire, what type of emotion are we dealing with? Anger or determination or passion or drive. Yeah? What about water? When you're feeling cool, yeah? Fluid. So the elements, all of these aspects of our reality, they're encoded here. We have to unify all of this, bring it all into a mutually supportive state. And then we come through the action powers and the sense powers. We have to acknowledge all of them. So you'll see, for example, after we have the tanmatra, which takes us down to the second half of the page, then we get into these action powers. We've got procreation, upasta, excretion, payi, locomotion, pada, picking up, putting down, pani, and speech, vak. Yeah? So we have a creative power, is this true? And we have an eliminative power. Yeah? But this doesn't just mean going to the toilet and making new human beings. Yes? It means much more. It says we have a recreational capacity. When we do things we've never done before, it can change our idea about who we are or what our capacities are. Is this true? Yeah? And this is a main practical element in how yoga works. The idea is, I invite all of myself into the present moment. And when I invite all of myself into the present moment, I increase the likelihood of having a lived experience that my mind can observe and be part of my being perhaps more than I had the idea I was. Does that make sense? So sometimes we have the idea, oh, I'm only this, or I can't do this. Well, that's too much for me. But when obstacles come, or challenges come, and it pulls us more fully into the present moment, what sometimes happens to our ideas about our limits?
Change.
They change, yeah? The obstacle invites us to be present, but we can also do that without a horrible obstacle coming to us if we practice. Yeah? I would say the basic yoga practice, or one of the basic yoga practices, is to look in ways that reach beyond our habitual ways of looking. To think in ways that are more inclusive than is our habit. Is that easy? Everything in the universe has inertia. So once we have a habit of looking in a certain way, thinking in a certain way, it has a lot of energy. So to look wider, not so easy. We have to make an effort in that direction. And that to me is the main effort of yoga. Patanjali says, yoga practice is a constant effort to foster steadiness. Constant, unbroken, long-term, attended to with real presence and a spirit of dedication. Then the practice can become well-rooted. So that constant inquiry. And how can we keep inquiring? We can look through any of these parts of ourselves. How am I in relation to the element of earth? Do I feel grounded and balanced? How am I in relation to the element of water? Is my life flowing? Is the system well irrigated? Is it nourished? Yeah, for example, element of fire. How is my digestion? Yeah? How is my motivation? Do I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get on with the day? If not, where am I in that? Yeah? So we can work with all of these things as lenses for inquiry. Yeah? So we just start where we are.